sanctuary if you're ready tonight. I know that it's all so heavy. Won't you let me inside? 'Cause I could be your sanctuary.
What's up guys, hope everyone is doing well. In today's video I'm going to be going over my general updates, which includes Bitcoin, the New York Stock Exchange, XYO, Phantom JASMY, and THETA. I'm also going to start including TRIAS and Dogecoin, and then at the end of the video I'm going to touch on a coin that I have not gone over yet on this channel called CKB. But to go ahead and get it started here for Bitcoin on this hour chart, as I mentioned in my previous video, which was only published about 18 hours ago, before we got this breakout recently right here leading into the new local highs we've set more solidly, we wicked up to around essentially 24,000 at this point. It closed at the highest around 23.8 thousand, which just lines up with this previous wick we got back here. Main thing that I was mentioning here on this lower time frame chart in the previous update was the time elapsed from the high to high. So just going back to these 155 bars time patterns right here, you can see lasted a little bit longer this time, but we have seen the break above this yellow dotted or dashed horizontal trend line right here. So hopefully we will, and we are seeing, as you can see here, we are starting to see some sort of slowdown, some tapering off of price. There's obviously some bearish divergence starting to print right here. The RSI is flattening out, whereas the price is still showing some pretty nice upheaval bullish momentum. And we are starting to see more of a, as you can see right here, this drop from the RSI. The price is still just pretty much slightly right along with where we set our previous high with the candle close right here in this area. We're also starting to get this green box printed, which happened right here. So I mean, if Bitcoin isn't going to break out, continue to break out more heavily as it has within the last number of hours or so, we could see some sideways action here. Or, as I did mention, the next target for Bitcoin to see here is going to be approximately 25,000, which is just what lines up if you're going to look at it. Obviously this back here, a lot of people have been mentioning this is just a bull flag. We got the breakout from there. You can just look at this again as a similar, the flag pole for this pattern right here. The flag got a little long, and a lot of the times you want to see some sort of proportion from the flag to the pole. But nonetheless, it does still look rather nice. You can see that the price target essentially at the lowest, I mean 25.1 thousand to, let's see, at highest 26. So like I've been mentioning, just approximately 25,000, 25 to 26,000, which is just what lines up with where we got rejected previously back here at 25,000, pretty much right on the dot, just about. As I've been saying on this daily chart, I believe we'll just continue to get a slow and steady movement towards the upside. Next target, as I said, 26,000. Likely sit there for a little bit in accordance with this turquoise pattern right here. And ultimately what is happening here on this daily chart is we're converging along towards this 800 EMA. We've already broken above the 200 EMA, which is the white moving average. So we want to see price stay above that. As I did mention, as I've been talking about the potential bear trap in my previous videos, which is just what lines up with looking at this chart right here. You see this origin drop, our two M's leading into the final pivot point, which ends off this 9 wave, which is what correlates with Bitcoin's bear markets, going back here to our previous one in our current phase 1 of our current cycle 3 for Bitcoin. You'll see the same thing. And the bear market that I'm mentioning is this, not the bear market, the bear trap is what I'm mentioning is this area right here, because the bear market that we have been forming since our double top in our current cycle has been, in terms of structure wise, been following along with how the 2014 to 2015 bear market carried out. So hopefully we won't actually end up seeing this major bear trap. And again, if we do end up seeing it, I do not believe we'll go any lower than our current lowest lows. We'll probably, if we do see it, we'll enter a range of around 19,000 to around 15.4, 15.7 or so. But I do assume we'll continue to head up from here. Again, from this weekly chart, we got 54 minutes left in this candle. I believe we will continue to close more, or we'll open up a little bit more outside of this black trend line right here is pretty much what we're meeting right now. We don't want to see major rejection from that because that will likely confirm the bear trap, as I've been mentioning. Going back to this chart, you can see each of these blue bubbles right here at each of these lows, and also at our current low. This is a major macro long-term trend line going all the way back to July of 2017 that we are bouncing off right now, and again has led us up to where we are currently. As you can see, we want to see price continue to go up from here. You can see all of these moving averages right here converging, the ones that are less correlated with how the price is actually moving. Such a good thing to see. Hopefully we will continue to push upwards, break more into this purple band that you see, and continue to break above it. What we want to see is, as I've been mentioning, is price significant strength, volume support, etc. break above this band like we did back here, and like we did back here for this relief rally, and then also just in general what we did back here for the previous bull market to continue bullish momentum towards the upside. Again, the price targets for Bitcoin that I'm expecting are in general 200 to 300,000. First, so I'm assuming we'll get a similar double, not assuming at this point, I think as I confirmed, well, in quotations confirmed, obviously everything that I'm talking about in this video with respect to my macro idea and projections of Bitcoin isn't fully confirmed yet. Only time is going to tell, but as I have mentioned in my second most previous video, which I'll have that linked as cards, and I'll have many videos linked as cards at the beginning of this video. If you're new to my content, you want to check more of it out, which will further, the first video I'll have linked as a card will further elaborate on this macro big picture that you are seeing right here as I zoom out. But briefly, just what I wanted to touch on was, again, like 200 to 300,000 sometime end of this year. And if we do get this double top, which I believe we will, I'm leaning more towards that at this point, we'll see the first top happen like December, January, February, so December of this year, January, February, so of next year, around 220 to 250, 270,000, somewhere within that range. I don't know specifically where, but somewhere within that range I believe we'll see. Then we'll see a retracement, similar to how we did back here after 64,000, and then we'll see that double top carry on out, pushing towards 300,000 if I had to believe, probably around 280,000 to 300,000, around 6 to 7 months into 2024. But that really kind of concludes what I wanted to go over for Bitcoin. Here for the New York Stock Exchange, we're continuing to see this bearish divergence play out. You can see this RSI is a negative, predominantly negative slope, whereas the price up here you can see is carrying out a predominantly positive slope. But you could rather label it as a more so of a borderline exaggerated bearish divergence, which just means it's not as strong. Like for example, if we were seeing the slope for the resistance up here, like way more correlated towards having a higher slope, and the down here the RSI was having more of a negative slope, something like that, then it would be more of a stronger bearish divergence that we'd be seeing. But as I said, this one's not necessarily weak, but I do continue to believe that we will get rejection at some point. As I did mention, if we continue higher above pretty much 16,000 at this point in strength, volume confirmation, etc., and then we enter into this red box range up here, either we'll get rejected and it'll kind of act as like a bull trap. I would actually be more inclined to believe if Bitcoin ends up seeing this bear trap that I'm talking about, then the New York Stock Exchange or the stock market in general will probably see that bull trap. But just in general, we will either get rejected from here, which is what I'm leaning to at this current moment, or we will break above here into this red box. And if we continue above this red box, then I believe that the decoupling, as I've been mentioning recently, will not start to begin to ensue as soon as I have been mentioning. But right now for the stock market, specifically the New York Stock Exchange, if we see price rejected, we want to see price continue to move towards the downside, lower than around 15.4 would be about the first milestone, 15,000 for the second milestone, then around 14.5, 14.6 would be the last milestone. Once we start to heavily trade below pretty much just fan range that I have right here, which as you could see earlier when I had zoomed out, this applies to the tie range, pretty much the double top we set back here. And I believe we'll head down towards, in general, around 12.4 thousand to around 11.5 thousand, which, as I did mention, I've seen that rather ironic, because I believe the crypto market in terms of Bitcoin and altcoins, etc., are going to continue to go up from here. The decoupling will start to begin over the next few years, 3 to 5 years. And what I find ironic is that the stock exchange New York Stock Exchange is going to go down to the range that Bitcoin would go to if it were to actually continue to go lower, as you can see right here. So around like 12.5 thousand all the way down to around 11,000 or so, according, again, once more, to this macro curvilinear falling triangle wedge, whatever you want to call it, that I've been using for a number of months. But outside of that, that really touches off on the update for the New York Stock Exchange. Here for XYO, again, we have broken out. I would have to say, leaning more towards a positive manner. We've been going sideways since we broke out of this symmetrical triangle, which, as I did mention, could signify lack of strength and will eventually break towards the downside. But realistically, it all depends on Bitcoin, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. If Bitcoin continues to see strength here on out, then XYO will as well. We are starting to print. You can see the slope right here in terms of resistance. The candles closed is positive, whereas the well, actually, no, we're not even really seeing it anymore. But the point is right here, we're starting to see this RSI taper off a little bit, even though the slope right now currently is positive. We'll likely see this RSI go down. So we're actually not really getting that much of a bearish divergence as I was seeing like maybe about an hour or two ago when I was looking at the chart. So that's a good thing to be seeing right now. As you can see, we continue just to bounce off this 800 EMA. We see this 200 EMA right here. So on this 4-hour chart, we want to see this 200 EMA cross above this 800 EMA at some point, which will likely, whenever it does cross, I believe that will likely confirm whenever we start to go higher for XYO towards the half a penny to 2.5 penny range, which once more is this what lines up with seeing price go back up towards the area in which XYO consolidated from January of last year all the way to April of last year, which is just what lines up with Bitcoin when it consolidated within that same time range from 32,000 to 48,000 and then saw that rejection. That is generally where all the coins, for the most part, the next milestone in the next area where they're going to head, which is just what lines up with general price structure and just resistance and support zones, etc. Here on this 3-minute chart right here, we could likely maybe be seeing some form of maybe like a cup and handle right here. I know this is a very low time frame chart. Again, like I said, 3 minutes. So the lower we go in the time frames, obviously the strength, the validity, the viability behind these price targets, or not necessarily price targets, but good grief, what am I trying to say? Price patterns is going to be, you can rely on them a little bit less than if you were to be using it on a higher time frame. But right now we just don't want to see price significantly start to go below around 0.0065 to 0.00, well, just in general 0.0065, and especially not go below with a lot of downside momentum below this 800 EMA right here, which just lines up at around 0.0064. So it's a pretty much the same range. I personally don't believe that will happen. I believe we'll eventually at some point begin to start to go back up as well, like I did mention. Here on this XYO to Bitcoin chart, is on the XYO to USD chart, we were seeing more of a symmetrical triangle. Like here on the XYO to Bitcoin, we're seeing more of a falling triangle, a falling wedge. We broke out of it, came down and tested the resistance, and at this point I would say we pretty much found support on that. We've just been trading sideways. If I were to continue this line further than what it is currently shown on here, we haven't even come back down to it. And if we did, that would likely correlate with, well, I'm not even going to try to do the conversion right here. I forgot this is the Bitcoin chart. But like I said, I believe we'll continue to go up from here. We want to see this band we want to see the price move with strength above this band, like obviously back here, and like I mentioned on the Bitcoin chart and whatnot. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and point it out. What we'll see is what I've been mentioning for the XYO to USD chart. If we continue to see XYO move up from here, the XYO to Bitcoin chart would push pretty much towards this yellow range that I have marked off right here, so back up to where the previous all-time high was. And as I've been mentioning recently, for XYO, it's only going to, as you could tell earlier when I showed it, it's only going to come up to this range. So when you compare the two, the XYO to Bitcoin chart is going to be showing strength over Bitcoin basically, which is what I'm factoring into the fact that I think, and at this point pretty strongly believe, that we will be getting the top for XYO earlier than most of the market, around June, July, August of this year, at around $2 to $3. specifically like $2.36 to $2.42, which is, if you remember, my price range for Bitcoin was 200,000 to 300,000. So you're seeing confluence there, which is another thing to strengthen the analysis that I'm going over in this video. And to actually go back to, let's see, this 12-hour chart for XYO. We are essentially, you can see, obviously we got a yellow vector right here, and we ended up going down. We got a yellow vector right here, and we just minorly went down. Essentially, we've just been trading sideways, but we are getting another yellow vector with strength towards the upside. I believe this one will more likely, and is more likely, probably acting as confirmation that the price is going to be breaking out soon. As I have been mentioning, we would likely see this breakout towards the half a penny, 2.5 penny towards the end of this month. It is currently the 29th. And I believe we are starting to see that, hopefully at the least. I did mention previously when I mentioned that we could likely see XY move up to this range more into like the first week, maybe bleeding into the second week of February, which at this point I believe that's probably what will more likely end up happening, is that we will reach this next milestone, half a penny to 2.5 penny, first week, second week of next month, i.e. February. Here for an update for Phantom, it's continuing to move up nicely, obviously, just in general with the entire market. As I mentioned, all the altcoins pretty much are just moving along with Bitcoin at this point because it's the fundamental store of value. But right now we are starting to see taper off of the price. We are seeing a minor, rather bearish divergence. So as you can tell with this fractal pattern, as I've been mentioning, we've been pushing up towards this 800 EMA, like pretty much every chart that I've gone over is doing, and will do soon, I believe. So I believe we'll probably likely just kind of sit here along this general area in alignment with this fractal pattern. We might push a little up a little bit higher, maybe even just something like this, and we'll do something like that. But just in general, just this general area right here is, I believe, what we'll see converging towards this 800 EMA. We'll find support at some point, and then eventually we will, break up towards higher price targets, as I've been mentioning, into basically this fan that I have in direct respect to this double top we set back here, heading towards the first major milestone, pretty much retesting the previous all-time high. We'll consolidate in this range for quite some time, and then head towards the two price targets that I have. Either Phantom will finish off around $50 to $90, or it will finish off around $400 to $420, more towards, let's see, I'm gonna have to go a little bit higher here to find that out. A little bit higher here. Let's see, the 3-day, around, July of next year, around 6-7 months into next year. If you can hear my cat meowing, I apologize, but she's not gonna shut up, and I'm not gonna fix it right now, but yeah, so again, like I said, that's just lining up with the what I mentioned for Bitcoin. If I can find it with all the charts I have in here, it's the same thing. We'll see a double top like Bitcoin saw. It's essentially what I just got done going over with Phantom right here. Here for JASMY on the 12-hour, again, we're continuing just to kind of waver up, similar to how I mentioned with Phantom back here. We're kind of just seeing price waver towards the upside. And essentially what we're seeing with Bitcoin, as I said, those bull flags, essentially. Right now we don't want to see JASMY significantly go below the 200 EMA, which it has broken out above at this point, which is around 0.0048, so pretty much half a penny. If we do start to go down below that significantly, losing 0.0045, so just shy below what I said, that won't be good. It's possible that we come down and test around 0.0033 if this coin wants to see a dump for whatever reason. But right now I'd say it's rather at least safe to not necessarily to assume, assuming can always get you into bad places, but I personally believe that we'll continue just to see price waver towards the upside until it finally breaks. If I had to guess, like I've been mentioning, like I said, for XYO and Bitcoin heading towards that $32,000 to $48,000 range, what that will line up for here on JASMY is we'll likely see price for the next milestone go up into this range, which is ranging from 0.0085 all the way up to 0.012, so essentially just shy of a penny to just a little bit above a penny here for JASMY. Again, that will probably likely sometime next month, as I believe when the next milestones in general for pretty much all these coins that I'm going over will happen, maybe even March. Some of them, obviously some of them are a little bit slower and the altcoins tend to lag and whatnot. Pretty much the same idea here for Theta as well. It's almost the same idea for all of these. We'll see just kind of just wavering up motion. We're starting to see some bearish divergence a little bit. You can see this MACD down here though is looking rather nice. We could be seeing some sort of, kind of just symmetrical, just some in general sort of triangle trading as it's kind of coiling up like a spring, building up that compression. Eventually it's going to release it towards the upside. So we might see price drop down to around maybe just right below $1 at this point. This band lies at 92 cents up to 98 cents. So we don't want to see price significantly go below that if we're going to see, like, for example, that bear trap that I mentioned. Right now it's important to see theta move up towards $1.43 or so, find support there, and then continue higher towards this 800 EMA, which is pretty much, as price continues to go up, this 800 EMA will go up as well, which is going to line up with this area right here for this fractal pattern that I have, which is around $2 to $2.36. Again, this is lining up currently towards the end of next month as well. I think next month, assuming that the market continues up from this point, next month will be a rather good month for the market in general. Let's see here, if I pull up the indicators, again, I don't know if I already mentioned it for this coin. Yeah, I did, because I have that drawn down on here. So here for TRIAS, right now, again, it's the same picture, moving up toward this 800 EMA right here, which lies currently around $2.84. So we want to see price move to it, maybe consolidate there sideways for a little bit, but eventually ultimately break up towards the upside. We are seeing bearish divergence. No, not necessarily. Well, no, not really even, in all honesty, but forget what I said there. But we don't want to see TRIAS break below right now, currently around $1.86. And if it does do that, we don't want to see it go below around $1.57 down to $1.40. If it starts to break $1.40 with heavy volume support, etc., then that will likely not be a good thing to be seeing here for the market. Again, I don't really know where TRIAS is going to go in the long run because it doesn't have enough price data. I'm not going to zoom out all the way that far. But I assume it'll probably top out similar to what I've been saying because everything is really just correlated to Bitcoin at the end of the day. I do, although here, as I forgot it for Theta, have a price target all the way up to, let's see here, all the way up, so 450x approximately 45,000, 46,000%, all the way up to around $300 to $340 or so, which is going to line up more towards, I believe, the end of this year, first 2 or 3 months of 2024. Yeah, as you can see right here, because this one didn't see that significant double top. As you can see, Bitcoin hit 69,000 in November. Theta did not continue to go higher. A number of altcoins did this, so we're likely to see a single major top for something like Theta, if I had to guess, which again is a very good project as well to be looking into. Okay, here for TRIAS, already went over that. Okay, so for Dogecoin, this is going to be a massive update. This is going to be one of the best movers in the market, upcoming bull market, I believe. This is the first coin that I got into, probably a lot of people, but this one last time moved 540x, approximately 53,000%, as you can see back here on this RSI. I have it pretty clearly detailed out, which is correlating with these 3 bubbles back here when we got this pretty much upwards consolidation before the major bull market, the major parabolic run. You can see the RSI was slowly moving up towards this upside, sat here in this range as it continued to let out that steam. I believe, again, as you can see here, correlated with this yellow line, these 3 bubbles right here, correlated back to these 3 bottoms that we've been slowly moving up. We will soon be breaking out. We want to see Dogecoin continue to move up from here towards 11 cents and then sit there maybe for a little bit, but then continue towards around 26 to around 34 cents. And then again, we'll likely just sit up here in this blue cloud that I have drawn up here as we continue up most of the major parabolic market. Here for this MACD, as all the coins I've gone over, I haven't gone over it for all of them, but all of the coins set its lowest low on this MACD that I used shortly after the bear market began. And ever since then, we've been converging towards zero, spiraling around it, building up compression like a spring. Eventually, all that's going to be let out, which I'm inclined to believe will be rather soon. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. We did get our pink vector candles indicating bottom, which is what we saw back here. Once we start to see some more of these turquoise candles print, that will be a good thing to see as well. You can see this is also just nicely lining up with the VPR, volume profile range, which is, I have this drawn with respect to all-time price. I could move it over a little bit, but it's probably still going to essentially say the same thing. Obviously, we found major support right here. Back here when we traded within around 5 to around 6-7 cents or so. And again, right here around 21 cents will be a pivotal place, which is just roughly lines up with, like I said, 26 to around 34-35 cents. And I believe from there, then we'll quickly spring towards around, in general, about $2 to about $3. As I have been mentioning, It's been a while since I've updated this coin. If it doesn't go as high as I believe it could, according to the way I view the macro logarithmic market structure for the entire cryptocurrency market, which is based in the mathematics of Bitcoin essentially. Again, it will be the first card that I have linked in this video if you want a further breakdown on that. If we do continue to go higher than the $3, the next place will be around 12, so $10 to $12, $13. If we continue to go even higher, then the next place is going to be about $25 to $28, and all this is going to happen around the same time of Bitcoin, as we see that double top around 6, 7 or so, 6, 7, 8 months into. Actually, no, this is actually lining up with currently August of this year, so that might. That's not when Bitcoin. Let's see. Actually, let's go back here. So this first high. I'm actually kind of curious to see if that is going to happen. So if this ends up playing out how I have it on here, then we will see the correlation with Bitcoin. It is pretty much going to top out right as Bitcoin's about to make its major parabolic move. So that may or may not happen. Again, as I said, this lines up mostly with Bitcoin. So we could likely see it, because this topped out. It didn't do anything special for the November high, so we would likely see it top out more towards maybe the end of this year, December, for January of next year. So we could likely either see it top out, as I did mention, like 6, 7 months into this year, or we will see it top out end of this year, maybe January, February of next year, which, as I actually pulled that out a little bit, let's see if I can just go ahead and line it up pretty much exactly with this. About right there. So maybe, yeah, I don't know, like I said, more towards the end of this year, maybe beginning first 2 months of next year, or perhaps it'll likely top out as early as August or so, 6, 7 months into this year. But like I said, it was heavily correlated with Bitcoin. Like, it made its top in May of 2021, and that is when Bitcoin made its top pretty much for 64,000. So we could likely, if I had to believe, actually see Dogecoin topping out more towards December this year, January of next year. But again, it's all just a work in progress. And like I said, at the end of the day, what I'm going over may not actually end up happening. As obviously we don't know what is going to happen, and only time, the progression of time, will end up proving all the things that I'm going over in this video. But Dogecoin is looking quite promising right now. As I said, 11 to 12 cents is the next area to see it price push up towards and continue higher than that. Strength, volume, confirmation, etc. If we continue to go lower and we significantly start to break below around 6.5 cents, that will not be good. We'll likely see that bear trap that I mentioned, maybe back down to the current lows we said, around 0.052, or maybe Dogecoin will go even lower, kind of lining up with this 800 EMA right here at around 0.036 cents. It's around 3.5 cents or so. But here for the last coin, CKB, Nervous Network. Apparently this is associated with Cardano. I didn't look into it before I started recording this video. But after looking at the price chart, it does not look like it's going to be one of the major movers according to how I look at the overall macro logarithmic progression of the entire crypto market, assuming that all these coins are pretty much going to behave quite self-similar to how they did after the previous bull market from March of 2020 to the double top that we set. Either we'll continue to see something similar to this fractal pattern right here and then spike up towards, pretty much it's just going to retest its all-time high around 3.5 pennies or so. Again, like I said, this is not going to be that good of a mover. It's only going to be like a 16x or so, I believe. So I mean, that's not too good at the end of the day to be seeing. Like I said, this is definitely, this is pretty much one of the lowest coins I've seen. Anything below around 5,000 is super low. Anything from around 5 to 10, 12, 15,000 is like medium range, and then anything 20 to around like 32,000 is like reaching high, and then anything above like 32 to 40,000 is reaching into like super high territory. As I mentioned, I didn't go over but Phantom, as I've been saying for quite some time, it moved 200,000%, which is a 2,000x last bull market, which is obviously it's fantastic to see. But we could likely see a massive drop here for CKB here soon, down to around a fifth or so, approximately of a penny. Maybe we'll continue to go higher, break above this range right here around 0.00447, so around half a penny. And then we'll continue towards this next range right here, this descending range of these two trend lines that I have at around 0.072. so just shy of a penny. But we could likely see this coin behaving very volatile. So if it follows anything similar to this, obviously you see this massive M pattern right here, and you can see as I have this black pattern, this black pathway right here. This made a massive M. Again, M's and W's are fundamental structural formations within not only the cryptocurrency market but the stock market in general. Basically, your goal is when you see these, I mean, obviously do your own research, but I feel like I'm giving good advice and saying that if you just start looking at price formation, especially on higher time frames, they can work on lower time frames too as well, but obviously once you go down to the lower time frames, things get more blurred and the trends on higher time frames are more reliable. But on higher time frames, like pretty much the daily and above is what I'm talking about, you want to look for these M's right here, and you want to basically obviously sell the double top for the M's, and you want to buy these lows for the M's, because once you see these M's, you'll likely then see a W form, and you want to sell that right there. And as I mentioned in my previous video, which the 2 videos I'll have ended, linked at the end of the video, are 2 educational videos that I've made. I need to update them soon, but it goes over price harmonics and like what I feel are rather intuitive, simplistic breakdowns of what the RSI, stock RSI, and MACD means. So like you can look at, if you're looking at it as physics analogies, the RSI is velocity of price, the stock RSI is acceleration of price, and then the MACD is going to be momentum. And then basically the stock RSI is a derivative of the RSI, or the velocity, because acceleration is a derivative of velocity when you look at it in terms of a physics point of view. But a lot of the times, so I'll just go ahead and quickly do it here, you'll see W's form with M's in the middle, which will set the double bottom, and then you'll see a top out, and then you'll see a W. Once we're going up to make this M right here, these 2 double tops, you'll see a W form in the double top, and then we'll go down. That's actually, let's see, actually we'll go to this daily chart and look at it. Let's see how that looked here for Bitcoin back in the previous double top. If we actually take a look, you can see, so we'll take this as the high. You can basically just kind of look at it like this. You see this basically right here, you'll see kind of like this right here, these major pivot points, at least that's just how I see it, and then we move up towards this high. The one that I'm showing right here for Bitcoin isn't really like a super great one to look at. It's honestly, it's really not there that much, but it is kind of there nonetheless. So let's go to a higher time frame and look at it. This will probably be a better time frame to see it on, but our current bear market bottom actually perfectly shows what I'm saying. You can see we have our major downside for this bear market, which is actually more smaller, and looking at it on a smaller resolution, composed of this A, B, C, D pattern, so a lightning bolt pattern towards the downside. As I'm saying, right here we see an M pattern leading into our bottom, our final bottom, which is acting as a double bottom for these 2 pivot points right here, and then we'll lead into the next bull market right here. As you can see, this is a massive W with an M as its bottom or bottom range. But that was essentially all that I wanted to go over. Again, we're seeing a bullish divergence right here, similar to Bitcoin, that approximately 7-month long bullish divergence here on CKB as well. MACD, similar pictures I pointed out earlier. Lowest low was set right after the bear market began. Ever since then, it's been slowly converging up towards zero. Eventually that momentum, that pressure will be released towards the upside. But yeah, that was all that I wanted to go over for the update in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you were able to take away some educational info from this video. Feel free to check out the videos I have at the end of this video, and if you wanted to see more of a breakdown, again, once more of, let's see here, of this macro chart that I have right here, which I believe personally I have a high degree of certainty in terms of confidence that it will continue to carry out like this. But I highly recommend checking out the video that, again, once more, it will be the first card linked at the beginning of this video if you haven't seen it. But all that being said, I hope all of you guys have a blessed day.
Ooh, I'm regretting